Good evening and welcome to Talk Football on a unscheduled, well, actually we always do Friday, but a slightly changed to our schedule, unfortunately, due to recent events over here in the UK. The Queen passed away, of course, everybody will probably already know that worldwide in news. So the Premier League EFL is postponed this weekend. No football in the UK. So yeah, with that one, we're just going to have a bit of a discussion. Slightly off topic, but kind of maybe just talk about how these postponements are going to affect some clubs potentially. For maybe it's in a way it gives them an opportunity, and maybe some teams that this is actually going to be really effective of them, because of momentum that they may well have had. So yeah, we're gonna have a discussion on that one. But Jesse, how are you, man, mate? You okay?
Yeah, good, man. And you?
Yeah, really, really good. Just coming over the end of a cold. So if anyone hears my snotty nose, I'm nearly at the end of it. So yeah, So 6:30 UK time yesterday, it was announced that the Queen had passed away. Obviously here at Talk Football, of course, we're not going into politics or royalty, but of course, it's a dreadful thing that stuff happened, and of course, rest in peace. And then we just want to put that message out there for where it is. So with that, we'll move on to the football. So the postponements. Jesse, who do you see as being the winners based on the postponements? That's what I'm saying. Who's actually going to benefit mostly from the postponements of football? Is there some comments you wanted to read out?
No. I just wanted to put it up there whilst I have this share on. I mean, no real winners. I know it's obviously not what we're trying to say.
No, we're talking about the postponements themselves, as in what they are, not why, but what they mean.
Yeah, no, I know, and condolences for anyone who has an affiliation or affection for the Queen. Obviously, I'm American.
Of course.
Yeah. But no, I think there's quite a few teams that really, really needed something to happen, things to be slowed down. Chelsea's one, bringing in Potter. That gives him a chance to start putting into building blocks. I assume that they'll still be on the training pitch. I'm also assuming that any players who aren't filling up for it, especially the British-based players, will be allowed to kind of have that space. I don't think that that's going to be the case.
I don't think there'll be much change to business, to be honest with you, on the training pitch.
Exactly. So, no, like Potter and Chelsea are definitely going to. This is definitely going to help them. It's advantageous for them. Liverpool desperately need a break. We'll get your thoughts on that in a moment.
Yeah.
Anyone else that I could really think of? No, because I think everyone's momentum has been broken up. I think you could have said that a big loser of it would have been Arsenal if they hadn't lost to United last weekend. And obviously they got the job done in Zurich. But even then, it's not going to be a massive momentum stop for them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And United having that result the other day won't be one either. City, I just assume that they'll be back to business regardless of when they play next, because they're just looking like that side at the moment. No, it's definitely between Chelsea and Liverpool, and based on the fact that the injuries are the main issue for Liverpool, and I know that Klopp needs to figure out a system because he's changed it and it hasn't worked out so far. I'm going to give it to Chelsea though, because of having a new manager, bringing him in, and they've look. Liverpool have not met their expectations, but Chelsea have been equally as dreadful, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we'll stay to Chelsea and then we'll jump on to Liverpool. I think that's a sensible way to look at it. Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, Chelsea, Tuchel sacked. I mean, that's one side of the coin as to whether or not I think that's a good thing or not. I think Potter is a young progressive manager. It gives me sort of early FSG vibes, when they came and brought in Brendan Rodgers, someone who played a attractive brand of football. He was the new kid on the block, and I can definitely see why that this one would make sense. Chelsea have gone wholesale changes from top to bottom, new ownership, new board, new players, pretty much almost across the pitch, new manager, new coaching staff. Everyone involved within Chelsea is basically brand new, and that can work great, or sometimes it can work the way that it is at Chelsea at the moment, which is not working so well. Potter, this is for him. It's perfect. I mean, Chelsea, I think the postponement couldn't have come at a better time for him to be able to not just get his feet under the table, but get to know his team, get to know his actual team before the Champions League match, which there's been no official report, as far as I'm aware, yet from UEFA as to whether or not games will be postponed, especially the English teams. There was some reports potentially that English teams who were playing at home could play at European neutral venues, but this hasn't been confirmed either. This is also kind of like speculation. There's something that is being considered if they were to choose, they weren't. However, because of the information from the UK government saying that there is no official guidance, but they are to make their own decisions, for me, every home game in the Premier League, in the Champions League and the Europa League will go ahead. That I can't see it not, because UEFA doesn't have a vested interest in postponing its money spinner for something which isn't their issue. So I think that the European games will continue. Chelsea 100% needed this one. It gives Potter just that opportunity to get his team, go out there on the training field, a little bit like Ten Hag. He gets an extra couple of days. That's it, really. It's a couple of days before they play in the Champions League, where he's just able to get an extra day, an extra 2 training sessions in, just to be able to kind of go, right, okay, I know a little bit more about the team, who he's going to play, who he wants. I'm sure he'll have a good idea of that already. I'm sure he knows plenty about Chelsea just by studying them when he's played them as a Brighton manager. So that's really good for him. And as you've mentioned, Chelsea is all over the place. There is a lot of problems there at the moment when it comes to performance. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we predicted this early on in our Chelsea show. Remember, if we go back and have a look at our Chelsea show and whatnot, we discussed the potential issues. Joanna, you okay, man? The Chelsea situation that we considered was, this is turbulent and this is coming true. This was our prediction, that there was going to be turbulence over at Chelsea. And Potter could be that stabilising point, but I'm not certain it's going to come straight away. I still think there's going to be more turbulence and there's going to be more rough seas between now and then. Well, what do you think? Do you think that he'll have an instant effect, or do you think it's going to be a case he's going to need time? I can't hear you, mate.
Sorry. I think you'll get a reaction out of that team. How much of a reaction, I don't know. They're low on confidence, but they have good players.
Yes.
Now, I wouldn't expect to see the sort of effect that people might want to see for a long time, because first and foremost, Potter is a coach, and to play the way that Brighton have been playing, it's going to take time, because you can't coach that into a team in 5 seconds or 1 week or whatever. I expect by maybe mid-January, after the World Cup, sort of, to be seeing something reminiscent of what he had at Brighton. A lot of total football, lots of free-flowing movement. And also, I think that Potter will need to evaluate the squad and see who fits into what roles, because what he's been doing with Gross and Trossard, not every player can do. But I do think that they, we'll get into that in a second, Daniel. I'll bring up your comment here in a moment. I think you might see him get the best out of someone like Havertz. I think he'll match up well in that system. But no, I expect somewhere like January time, we'll start seeing something more.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a very different system. I mean, this is something that's interesting, right? Okay. Just, I know we haven't pre-rehearsed this, ladies and gentlemen, who's watching. Like, so just bear with us. We are working through this. So I'm just going to pose this question: how do you see Chelsea lining up under Potter? What's your prediction? What do you think that you're going to see? Are we going to see Reece James playing in that wing back position, or is it going to go back to more of the system that we saw at Brighton? Which I'm not concerned, but interested to see how that affects some of their key players' games. Like centre-backs is centre-backs, but Reece James really does benefit from the back three.
They kind of look like they play a back three at times at Brighton. I'm not sure if they actually play a back three. I don't pay that much attention to the formation they start off on. But I think that they'll be fine. That back line is good enough. I'm wondering who he'll want to play in there. But I think, if we're going to do a back four, it's going to be Cucurella because he already knows him. James.
That's an all good one, isn't it, Cucurella? Yes, see you, mate. See you, Graham. The best. Oh, hang on, he's back again.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean that'll work for him, and then you'll probably see like Silva and Fofana at center back. I can also see them playing a back three because of the way that Potter does play. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one. I haven't done as much research as I probably could have.
No, I think that's one of the big questions, isn't it? Is the Tuchel system was very, we understood that Tuchel system, didn't we? In that team with the players that he had, and what was the benefits of those players. So it'd be interesting if whether or not Potter is going to have to use the tools that he has in front of him, for example. Use the tools that he has and then maybe adapt as the players come and go, because we brought this up the other day on our more heated stream on Wednesday when we talked about who's in charge here, who's bringing the players in, who's bought them for who. None of these players are Graham Potter's. Yeah. And they're not, other than Marc Cucurella, because he was. The rest of them are all not his players. That so we go back, we turn the clock back at Chelsea, because this is something Chelsea fans always told us. Wait until Tuchel gets his players. Wait until Tuchel gets his players, then you'll see he's going to match, Jurgen Klopp's legacy in 2 seasons, and that didn't happen.
He's out of a job within 7 games. I think we should. Yeah. I think we should take a step back, because I think Daniel brings up a good point.
Yeah. Let's go into that. We'll have a discussion with that one. So,
thanks for the comments, Daniel. As always, with all due respect to the Queen, to postpone the match week is nonsense. It helps no one. You can give the Queen the respect she deserves before the game. I tend to agree. I'd like to stay out of this just because I know that people are sensitive, but my general opinion, not having a monarch, and I don't know how much she means to people. I really don't. So I don't really have the context, but I do think that there's a way of, navigating this where you don't postpone the match. You do what the Rugby Association did and put out, a thoughtful message and say, this is our way of coping with her death. And this is what I was saying on Discord yesterday. Just in general in life, that's how my family's always done it. That's how I was taught, is to not let death stop you from pursuing your goals and whatever it may be, whatever, wishy-washy your response you could have. But anyways, yeah, what do you think?
Ultimately, we go back to the report. The UK government said that it was on the organisers to make their own decision of each sport. There was no direct, rule that you have to do X, Y, and Z. So I look at certain other sports. For example, there's 2 sports which are currently ongoing here in the UK at the moment, which is golf. Wentworth is being played currently right now in Wales, and the 5-day test series in cricket between England and South Africa. Now, these 2 competitions are interesting because they're both competitions which are lasting over multiple days rather than 2 hours in a day. Only 2 hours. These are 4-day events and 5-day events respectively. They've taken a day off because they're capable of taking a day off, but they will continue. So rather than taking a full week, they've just taken a day. Now with football, you can't move things back a day. It's not how it works. There's a lot of things that go into place when it comes to football. You can't just move a game one day. You either have to move it, you either have to play it, or you have to move it almost a week. I don't think a game can ever be anything more than a week or just less than a week, 6 days. So I think the reason that ultimately is that they're in a difficult place, that golf and cricket have been able to postpone because of their capability of doing it within their sport. The issue being is football can't do that. Now, what me and Jesse were just going to kind of off channel was the fact that the only justification is a little bit flimsy, but I think it is for 3 reasons. The Queen was a patron of the Premier League of football in this country. She was a patron. She's not a patron of many sports, but she is of football. the chairman, or the honorary chairman, I'm hoping that's the correct term for William, but Prince William, he is the head of, or the chairman of the FA, at least in a royal capacity. And then thirdly, of course, the main one being is football is a national sport, so I can only assume that it's those links, albeit flimsy, as to why they've, as the Premier League, have decided that it was in the best taste to postpone the games. It's very unfortunate for the people who go and watch the games. It's very unfortunate for those who travel, those who bought hotels, flights, tickets, all that kind of stuff, which is awful, which is, I do feel for those people, because sometimes going and watching your football club is a once in a lifetime experience, once in a decade, perhaps. So I do really feel for those people. But I also feel for the people who rely on football as their income. I look at the local industries surrounding football who rely. Missing one match is a lot of money, and I do, and that is difficult as well. So it's hard. Like, I'm not of a strong opinion where I think, yeah, it's terrible, and also, yeah, we should have postponed it. I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I can understand it, but I'm not like, oh yeah, that's what we should have done. So yeah, I'm a bit wishy-washy with it, but that's all I can say. Daniel, prime example is West Ham game yesterday. The San National Anthem gave a minute size. Yeah. I mean, them and Chelsea are probably the two clubs that you would want to have on the TV when it comes to the royal family. They're an incredibly royalist, kind of fan-based football and all the rest of it. What I will say is, and being as a Liverpool fan, it won't be like that at Liverpool. And not out of disrespect, but unfortunately it won't be. It's not going to be as patriotic as that. I am a little bit concerned about the headlines that are going to come out, because they will when Liverpool do play. And if they are going to try and influence some form of minute silence or singing the national anthem or Abide With Me or whatever, like, I'm concerned. I am. Because ultimately, it's not a time for us to talk about the reasons Liverpool boo national anthems and whatnot. There's a long list, and we can go on forever about that. But it's going to come out, and Liverpool as a club, as a fan base, are going to come under a lot of grief. So I am a bit worried about that. So yeah, I'd like to hope that. I don't know. I'm liking to hope that isn't going to be enforced, but I think it will be. And then finally, Daniel Fair comment, this is not a normal season. Look at the crazy schedule. There's even talk about postponing the Premier League for 2 weeks. Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, technically, it almost is postponed for 2 weeks, and this is a good point to bring up, isn't it? But we were just discussing again off air, was it's not just this weekend of football which is an issue. It's next weekend, because next weekend is when the funeral will be, which will mean there's going to be an intense amount of stress and pressure being put on the Metropolitan Police with its policing. So any London games, I think, are going to be very, very unlikely they're going to have enough staff to cover not just all of that and all the crime and day-to-day life in the Londoners itself, plus to cover the football, which is hundreds of officers just to deal with. So I think there's a very good possibility that we'll postpone next weekend as well. And because there's no statement saying that these games will play, I'm almost certain they will be postponed as well. So yeah, I'm pretty certain there will be postponements next weekend too. And those will be the games which are more likely to be pushed later in the calendar. Yeah. Because the game that's being postponed this weekend, there's a belief it's being moved. Is it to next week? Like midweek?
I don't know. I haven't read any. They've been so.
Yeah, it's vague, isn't it? It's very vague.
They're not saying anything. I've heard rumors of January. I can imagine them getting creative at some point and trying to, once things are more set with the EFL Cup, FA Cup, all that. Europe, trying to shoehorn these fixtures in. As long as it's 2, I think it's manageable. Even if you need to extend the season by 1 week. But it's a mess, and like I said, I don't really have much to do with this. But following what Daniel's saying there, paying respect, playing this weekend, and then not playing next weekend when it's probably not going to be practical to play next weekend, especially in London, like you say. I think that might have been it, but they'll manage and they'll have to get creative. So.
Yeah, I think the Premier League will have to get very, very creative. I mean, this is the situation as a nation, was always going to end up occurring. It was going to happen. And one thing I look at, and this is to try and say this in the most correct possible way, is that I believe, in my opinion, that if Her Majesty had passed away on Monday, or passed away on Tuesday, then I believe the Premier League games would have been played. But I believe because unfortunately she's passed away at the end of the week, the Premier League is in a situation where it kind of has to postpone these matches out of respect. And that's the only way that I can kind of see it. That's the only thing that I can see, that this is also, unfortunately, for Premier League fans, for Premier League teams, that this is a circumstantial difficulty as well. That the circumstances also played against them in this way as well. Numbers 246, thanks very much for saying hello. Appreciate that. Thank you very much, buddy.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a really awkward one, and I'm not in a position where I'll sit there and go, it's the wrong decision. I know some people are very saying it shouldn't happen. It's wrong. But I'm also in the position where I'm not saying it's right. I'm kind of I'm indifferent, I would say.
Yeah, I think people need to respect the way that people want to handle the situation, because it's delicate. Yeah. For me, I like I've said, I have no affiliation, obviously being American, all that. There's a lot of people, like the people in Liverpool, who might even feel more negatively than I would. But I think that we all just need to come together and just be like, look, some people are going to handle it differently than we would. And, you would hope that it would befit the models and kind of like the schedule of the season as well as it could. But unfortunately, it kind of came out of nowhere, I think, for a lot of people. And they're going to handle it the way they want to. And since it is the national sport and all that, yeah, it just gets messy. And I think people just need to have respect. I might not care as much, but I know people who are devastated, who I never would have even thought would be devastated. But there you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It affects people in different ways and stuff. I mean, ultimately, this is meant to be a once in a lifetime, event, and it will be at least twice in my life, because obviously now the Queen has passed away. It's going to be Charles. It's something which hasn't happened in hardly anyone's living memory. Lady's been on the throne for 70 years, so anyone would have been into their late 80s would have remembered the last time that the situation like this would have occurred. So no one in their working life is still working and doing this situation, is aware as to what needs to happen, the way that we deal with things. And fortunately, it's not something we have to deal with every day. So I think lessons will be learned. I think because of that, I think the situation will be managed better in the future. But unfortunately, we're just going to have to like it or lump it at the moment. I mean, other nations around the world, I suppose what I would say is, if a leader did pass away, I can't think of any exact off the top of my head, but I'm aware that when their figure state leaders and stuff have passed away, that unfortunately they've had to take a much harder line, approach on basically everything stops. Like the UK is stopping certain things, but in other nations, like the whole world stops. The whole, like, that's it. Sorry, yeah, the leader has passed, and no one's doing anything for the next 2 weeks. Go home and cry. But we're postponing certain things, and I think that's where it makes it difficult, because us as football fans, that is our most important thing. That's what we want to be doing. And then when we watch other sports and we go, well, why are they still going on? That's the problem, isn't it? That's the difficulty that we're coming across. So, those who aren't playing in Europe could use this playing in Team Europe. Yeah, 100%. I think Jesse was correct. I think using creativity, what you should be doing is keeping these games back and playing the Premier League matches. If the two teams are not in the EFL Cup on that game week, they should play then. That's how I see it. That if they can fit, if we've got Nottingham Forest versus Leicester to still play, for example. I don't know off the top of my head, but if they're not in the EFL Cup, we should play it on that match week. So at least then that it's not going to affect or add any further pressure. It'll just be the same as you just did a little bit better in a certain cup competition.
Yeah. Getting creative is definitely going to be the answer here. I don't think extending the season really helps anyone.
No.
I also don't think it's something that you can't do. This is just getting more and more chaotic since COVID. Obviously, that whole thing, extending seasons, having short summers, having the
World Cups in the winter,
Cup in the winter. It's becoming a mess. And eventually FIFA, UEFA, and the FA or the Bundesliga and the governing bodies they'll have to come together and figure this out, because it's starting to get to the point of insanity.
We're gonna have to press the button at some point, aren't they? And just like do a reset. We're gonna have to do a reset at some point.
Yeah, 110%.
You're just going to end up playing catch up constantly, trying to do Euros and international football, and UEFA won't get rid of the Nations League, which is just a nonsense. Like it's just an absolute nonsense. No one cares. Like no one is bothered about that.
And then what, this international break a month before the World Cup starts? Why?
International friendlies? Why?
Cancel it now and then play these. You know, I don't know. But speaking of Europe and people being in Europe, this little break, this week off, 2 weeks off, maybe. How does that work out for Liverpool? Just getting back on track. Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, that's a good opportunity for us to move on to Liverpool. Absolutely, yeah, definitely. So, yeah, from my opinion, I mean, Liverpool looks like a team who is routed and needs a regroup. It needs to be able to regroup its time, and this postponement, albeit just for the one match until Tuesday when we play Ajax, which I'm absolutely certain will be on, is welcomed, especially after the Napoli game. This is a good opportunity for the players, those who are coming back from injury, to come back a little bit fitter, a little bit stronger, a little bit better. Is really positive. And then secondly, also just to give the team and the coaching staff, Jurgen Klopp, Pep Linders, all of those involved in the brain room to be able to sit down and take a breath, albeit an extra day, an extra 2 days, to be able to go, right, what is it we need to do? What do we need to do to stop this issue? Because what I would say is you don't go from being a team who basically nearly did a quad, went to everything a few months ago, to then being this, to being shit. Like it doesn't happen overnight or in a short space of time. There is a reason as to why it's come. There's a reason why that has come, and my belief is I still believe the main issue is it's imbalance. We are imbalanced. There's some really good articles on the Athletic, on This Is Anfield, who've sort of hashed it. It's the same situation, but basically it's Harvey Elliott is an absolutely wonderful footballer. He's a fantastic footballer, and I kind of brought it up on our Napoli kind of coverage, when we talked about it on Wednesday night. And I said this triangle of Gomez, Alexander-Arnold, and Harvey Elliott is an issue. It's an inexperienced weakness. It's a very unphysical, not strong enough, not tactically noused enough side of the pitch, which is causing problems. And this has been brought up by the Athletic, and Harvey Elliott not being deemed as a patsy and being someone saying, right, it's your fault. I think unfortunately he's just not him, but Liverpool has a problem and he forms part of the problem, even though he also offers some of the solutions. So I think what Liverpool need to do is go back to having somebody who's capable of doing the defensive duties, which offers the right level of balance when it comes to attacking, because the statistics don't lie. Liverpool are creating lots of chances. Liverpool are creating many chances and are still scoring goals. Our problem is we are weak. We are as fragile as a Ryvita biscuit when it comes to defence. We crumble like a Weetabix. Because as soon as you play one pass through, there's a really interesting picture. And it's in the midfield first half against Napoli. Fabinho is practically where you see him there on the pitch. Milner might as well be stood between Diaz, and Harvey Elliott might as well be stood between Firmino and Salah. He's on his own in that midfield. There's no tracking. There was no tracking back. There was no cover for the defence. And teams are literally just passing straight through us. We need to get back to basics.
Yeah, you guys definitely do. And Elliott is not a midfielder. I know that people.
No, he's not.
He's an attacker. He really is. He's a 10-stroke progressive 8, and like a staggered.
He's like a Coutinho.
Yeah, and it's just not. It's not helping Trent. Obviously, I think you guys looked a little bit better when Thiago came on, but the damage was already done. Honestly, yeah. Gomez just. I said this the other day. He's not on it, but he hasn't had. Look, he's been fourth string for so long. The fourth string defender for so long. I don't expect him to come in and know what's going on, because he's never, up until your guys' injuries with Kanate and Matip, he was never going to play.
No, he's third choice, wasn't he? He was never going to get that position. He was third choice centre back. But for me, he's technically second choice right back. That is where I think he's better. I think he's better at right back than he is at centre back. I've always been of a belief of this, and the evidence came through from last season when we played against Norwich and played against Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup. Go back and have a look at them. He was wonderful. He was absolutely fantastic. He delivered a number of balls into the box that if Trent had done it, he'd be like, whoa, fantastic. What a ball, you know what I mean? And he really could deliver it, and he was putting a real shift. I'll have a look inside just 2 seconds. Yeah, fantastic. So, like, that's how I see it. Joe Gomez should be there, and of course he's covering a position where he shouldn't be covering. Midfield wise, this is a good opportunity. So Milner, I'm afraid to say, it's too old to be starting games for us. Philip, you've hit the nail on the head there, man. Genuinely, I mean, did you think first game Champions League, having just gone for the quad, that we'd be starting James Milner away at Napoli? No, it's. I was very happy. I must have already said it, but I was very happy when he renewed the 1-year contract, took a pay cut, to represent his actual position in the team. His position in the team was meant to be 4th or 5th choice. He was meant to be nowhere near this midfield. His job was meant to come on in the 80th minute to give Thiago 10-minute early rest so that Milner can come on there and put a obligatory yellow card tackle in on somebody while we're seeing the game out. The fact is he's played 7 games so far for Liverpool. He's started 3 of them. That's bad. That's FSG problems. That is, the fact that we have Thiago and Naby Keita and Thiago both being players who spend an awful lot of time in the physio's room. And James Milner is a hell of a drop down at the age of 37. Trust me, he can run, but the quality's not there. It's not there. He's lost that difference,
I want to go on this one. Let me
yeah.
This one.
Yeah, jump on it.
You need to talk about Trent and Joe Gomez ball watching antics. Like I just said about Gomez, I don't think that his head is necessarily in the game. He's 4th choice. He's been treated like a 4th choice for a season and a half since he had that, or like 2 seasons since he had that really good run next to Van Dijk. They've been trying to replace him for a while. He has quality, but he's also has been injury prone. Trent, it was absolutely pathetic. But then you have to wonder why. Why is that his attitude? Like, the one thing I expect of Trent, look, Liverpool fans will defend him to the hilt. Don't really care. He has games where he defends very well. Then he has games where he defends very poorly. He wasn't even trying to defend in that game. And just because you don't have a peak Henderson covering for you doesn't mean that you get to not put in the effort. I've never seen what I saw in that game from Trent.
Neither have I, but it's not the only game where I've been concerned about some of the body language. Like, it's concerned me. Some of the body language looks very just. Everyone looks too relaxed. Everyone looks a little bit, no issue. I don't know where the intensity's gone. And I mean, this is why I'm actually screaming out, get Matip back in and put Gomez on the right wing. Right back.
Yeah, just for the sake of it, because after that
bench him for a couple of games and just
to be benched.
See, get the reaction.
If he's not benched for the next game, I have serious questions for Klopp then, because they will look at that, they will review it, and they will see that.
Oh, they'll know. Oh, 100%. They're not going to. If we see it, trust me, they see it, and there's no. I definitely don't think they're going to be throwing hugs and arms around anybody. The only people who came off this pitch between that starting 11, there's 2 people I look at, and that's Luis Diaz and Alisson Becker, who did nothing wrong other than their job. Simple as that. Alisson saved a penalty, did everything he could for every other opportunity, and basically, he was probably the difference why we didn't end up losing 5 or 6, to be honest. And Luis Diaz, we don't deserve him, to be honest with you. The man's out there running his socks off, scoring another wonderful goal, and it was a really nice goal. He's starting to turn these chances that were nearly chances last season into goals. So, those are the only 2 people who came off that pitch with any respect from the starting 11 at the very least. Harvey Elliott, he's always working hard, he's always trying hard, but we've got to get this midfield sorted. We need to do something, and very quickly. And I'm hoping that this extra day or 2 we might see Arthur available, because I'd be really interested to at least I'd rather control the game, not be as quick and flowing, but at least not be losing by conceding easy goals. I'd rather slow the match down completely and allow our attackers to do the job and let our midfield just be like, control the play.
Yeah. I think there's a million different things, but if we keep talking about Liverpool, we're gonna go over anyways. Salas on fraud watch. Firmino had a decent spell, but it's the overall structure, and that's why this break will probably do you guys some good.
It is. The confidence needs to be there. Now that Thiago's back, I think that'll give everyone a lift. I think Arthur, looked decent. He looked like he was really wanting to get involved. I was really impressed with what I saw. He isn't match fit yet. He's nowhere near match fit, and that's not his fault. At the end of the day, he's not been played by Juventus. He wasn't wanted by Juventus. So, we've got to give him a chance at Liverpool, and I'm more than ready to give him a chance. I was happy with what I saw. He wanted to be involved. He was playing passes, being progressive. He was trying to get on the ball as much as he can, and that's all I can ask for at the end of the day. And then kind of Milner hopefully will be able to resign himself to the bench. Joe Gomez should be able to resign himself to the bench. Trent Alexander-Arnold should be given one more chance just because of the previous, but he's going to have to do something, because if he doesn't, he needs to be benched and put Gomez on at right back and say, listen, Napoli was a fucking horror show. Sorry, it was a horror show. But we're going to give you an opportunity as to where you flourished last season at right back, that this is an opportunity for you to be able to take that position. So, yeah, it's going to be a big positive for Liverpool. I think this is something which is at least a slight positive for them as a team. So, Europa League. 2 games to cover, and the Europa Conference League match we'll cover. So Arsenal versus FC Zurich got the job done with a much changed team, but Eddie Nketiah and Marquinhos on the score sheet, doing well what they're paid to do.
Yeah, honestly, I think we can skim over this. Sorry, any Arsenal fans who are either watching or going to watch it on playback. It was pretty straightforward. Zurich were a bad team, a very bad team, and Arsenal played a very weakened lineup. This is kind of what I would have liked to see happen with the United game. Obviously, Sociedad is just a better team, but they were playing away in Zurich, and we were playing at home at OT. Marquinhos, really good finish. I'm happy for him. You could see it was definitely a moment for him when he scored. Kind of looks like he thinks he's made it. Boy, you're just started. You have not made it yet, my friend. I've seen better players than you come and die in the Prem. But it was nice to see that. And Nketiah getting his goal, that will give him confidence. Vieira looked energetic, looked decent.
Tierney played a nice little pass into the build-up for the first goal.
Exactly. But yeah, overall, it was pretty straightforward.
It's what you would expect from Arsenal, wouldn't it? Away to Zurich, you know what I mean? They'd want to win out of this, and I'm going to say, well done, you got the win, but I didn't expect anything less. You know what I mean? This is par, this is average for what I wanted you to do. You went away from home, you got 2 goals, you beat Zurich, well done. You know what I mean? Fantastic, and you're able to make the changes. Possession was good, which we expected. More passing. You're just a better team. Arsenal are a much higher team in the world rankings, even with the changes that were made. Should be putting them to the sword very, very readily. So yeah, good result. No injuries, and ultimately they're going to be able to take advantage, just like Tottenham, that this week is almost like a gimme, because where this was going to be 2 games in a week, they're now only going back to 1 game in a week again. So this is almost like okay, we played early, got the results. Tottenham got the results, so they get to play again in Europe next week. So that's going to be the next big one to go into the next Europa League game and get the 3 points on the board, this time at the Emirates.
Yep. Yeah, use this time having the weekend off to go get a good start in the Europa League, get 2 wins on the board. And then
make it easy for yourselves.
Basically qualified at that point. Yeah, I mean that's really all there is to it. United.
Take the lead.
Yeah. So the issue here was, well, first off, there was a very contentious decision. In my opinion, it's never handball. I think in the Prem, that's not given. out there, hits his leg. By the time it actually hits his arm, it's tucked in here. But I have a problem with United fans on this one, and I have a massive issue with them. Why are we talking about that handball decision? Yes, it's contentious, but what was our attacking line doing? Elanga, absolutely not good enough. Cristiano Ronaldo, living offside, has exactly, Annie. We were still awful. I'm not going to blame our defense or our midfield even. Our attack was dreadful. So I don't want to hear excuses of, it wasn't a handball that shouldn't have been given. Either way, what were we doing? Cristiano
arguing over a point. It's a point lost. That's it. It's not 3 points lost. It's 1 point lost because, as you mentioned there, United's attacking outline there. I mean, Ronaldo, wasn't right, but there was just nothing going, was there? There was nothing there. It felt toothless.
Antony, not going to slate him too much. Obviously scored on his debut against Arsenal. Wonderful. Didn't look good. Elanga, he's just never going to be good enough. That's just the truth. It's just what it is. If you want to play him in some games where you just need to run, that's great. Cristiano is way past it, and I don't see him playing himself into form. The one thing I will say in United's defense here is that I've seen this for years in the EFL Cup, FA Cup, in the Europa League. I've seen it in the Champions League even at later stages when we're already looking like we're going to be qualified. Playing teams that haven't played together before doesn't work, especially when you're playing a Sociedad team that does play together in their first string. It just doesn't, Harry Maguire and Lindelof haven't played together for 6 months, basically, 4 months. Dalot has definitely improved. Eriksen was our best player by far on the day. Casemiro had a stinker. But our midfield just wasn't the only midfielder who really played well was Eriksen.
Why is it not showing Martinez as being on the pitch?
Because he subbed on at halftime.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just it says there you got the arrows. Did he come off for Eriksen? Was it?
Oh no, it was sloppy. It was sloppy. He came off. Lindelof went to right back. He came on for Dalot or Malacia.
Right, I see. Okay, yeah, because that's why it doesn't make any sense to me. Because I'm like going, where is he? Yeah. No, of course. So yeah, I mean, Dalot looks a much better player. Malacia was fine. I mean, the defense, there was no issues. I just didn't actually see any issues defensively for Man United at all. Obviously, Casemiro, Antony, we'll give them the buys at the end of the day. They're both obviously players with a lot of talent, and they've still got a lot to learn. Do you know what I mean? They're still going to get used to the team. So I'm not going to come out too heavy on them. Wasn't great games from either of them, but there wasn't great games for a lot of players. They may be the new ones, but a lot of players didn't do too great, to be honest. Eriksen's very important to this system, really, really important. And the only concern is obviously they've got to not protect him because of his pringing. They've just got to protect him because you don't need to overplay players. You're hoping somebody else can replicate, what they're capable of doing, within the team. So I think he's hoping that somebody who he's kind of moulding into his midfield can do that for him, in replace of Eriksen. So Eriksen doesn't have to play every single minute.
Well, and like I said before, when we were kind of just talking about who do I think will play, I just assumed Bruno. Because Bruno can play 60 games a season. He's just that sort of player. Despite how much he runs, I don't know how effective that running is, but he runs a lot and he doesn't get injured. So I would have expected Eriksen to not play this, but I think Ten Hag knows that without Eriksen, he's not going to have the fluidity in midfield. No. So he needs a player like that to link play. He was by far our best player so far this season by country miles.
100%. I mean, that's why I'm almost disappointed as well as a Liverpool fan as to why we weren't involved in the conversation for Eriksen. A free transfer with whatever his wages would have been, even if it was for 2 years as a contract, it would have made perfect sense. And I think if Liverpool were involved in that conversation, I think that we would have been very much, a thorn in United's side at the very least, kind of in that conversation. I'm just disappointed that, we didn't, because he is a very classy footballer, a very, very good footballer. He knows what he's doing and he can just do what he wants to do on that pitch.
Yeah, I've heard that from Chelsea fans, Liverpool fans. Tottenham fans, the ones who are honest with themselves, who realize they need a creator in midfield right now. I think the only team that wouldn't take an Eriksen is City, and Arsenal weren't going to get him because of the Brentford and Tottenham links, anyways.
No, 100%. So. Yeah. So, I mean, looking at it for me, I mean, as you say, I mean, the penalty situation is. I wound it up a little bit, do you know what I mean? I was watching the game and I was saying, it's a Stonewall penalty and stuff like that. But I don't even think for me it's close to even interpretation, because I'd understand if his arm was up here, you know what I mean? It bounced off here and it flew up, towards the top. If it fell down here and whatever. But the thing is that it looks natural to me. This looks natural. This looks like I'm defending. And that's where your body has to go. So I'm of a belief that that's within the sphere of, a natural position. I mean, right, okay. Can we just play that once more?
Well, I can't play it because I don't want to get. I don't think.
Okay, this is just last one. All right, okay.
But just
right. Okay, that's fine. I've mentioned this before on this channel, right? If anyone else watches cricket, has anyone else seen Hawkeye, where a ball is thrown, and then the trajectory of said ball is then plotted as to whether or not it would have been hitting the stumps or whether that. Yeah. This is my argument in a nutshell as to why this shouldn't be a penalty. I don't believe that it should be a penalty based on the trajectory of that ball. Just based on that. That is going into space. That's going to go and hit row Z in the Stretford end. That's gone. That's gone straight up. That isn't going towards the goal. That's going out. That's going nowhere. It's going over the bar. So for me, I think just based on that, that's not a penalty. That's not a penalty. It shouldn't have been a penalty. However, referee looked like he had his mind made up very, very quickly. He looked like he was very much telling everyone that was a penalty. No monitor view. Yeah, VAR said it was a penalty. So, I mean, it is what it is. And Jesse's rightfully to say that the penalty didn't cost Manchester United the win tonight.
I didn't. Yeah.
It was Manchester United's attacking line that affected their chances of winning the game. They just couldn't do it. They just couldn't seem to find any fluidity up there. And I don't know what it is. I'm not going to point a particular player or whatever it was, because I don't think it was that. I think it was a collective effort. I think it was a collective situation between a number of players who were all learning to play, together. And Ten Hag is going to have learned some lessons, from these players. He'll have learned things like he has already, and will come to address those situations, because he'll rely on these guys for his Europa League team. He's going to need them.
Yeah, 100%. No, and this kind of thing is like I would never give United an excuse like that when they're just not good enough. We should have been 2-0, 3-0 up anyways. Ronaldo needs to learn how to live on side. That's really it. But yeah, like, you may not like United, whatever it may be, but I don't see how anyone can really truly think that this was a penalty, at least within what we watch in the Premier League. And then there were lots of people saying, well, like, in Europe, it's a different rule. I think that's been discounted as well. I think it was just, I honestly just think it was a clanger by the refs. It happens to everyone, by the way.
Refs. Yeah, these things happen. Unfortunately, we all become victim of a terrible decision. Yeah. And this, unfortunately, was just a terrible decision on what was a terrible attacking display for Manchester United. So it was lessons learned. Do you know what I mean? It's disappointing that it wasn't a point, but would United fans been happy with a point? I don't think so. I think he'd be equally as annoyed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, honestly, that's I mean, you heard me. I was laughing on Discord. I couldn't fucking believe it. That this was given as a pen, but at the end of the day, all of my complaints were about our attacking impetus and what our front line was doing. So I'm not gonna ever come on here and try to say, well, we should have drew. It's like, who cares? Like,
No, 100%. I mean, it's different. I mean, if this situation occurs, Manchester United are 2-1 up, done everything they needed to do, and, they were, good value for it. And then this decision had come in, and then I would say that's what it's all about. But ultimately, this is just the difference between getting 0 points and getting 1. Like, it's neither here or there for Manchester United. This is the biggest problem is the big 0 next to Manchester United. That is the real problem. It's not oh, that's a side note. That is like, oh, well, don't make that the main article. That's a side article. But yeah, finally, Europa Conference League. West Ham made it difficult. This, I think. Yeah, they went down 1-0, didn't they, against FCFSB? You have to excuse me. I have no idea who they are or where they're from.
They're from not the Europa Conference League. From, is this Austria?
Is that Romania?
Romania? I don't know. I saw Rapid, and I just know they have Rapid Vienna. So I was like, I don't know. Well,
that's Cluj, isn't it?
Cluj here, yeah, not Cluj.
I think it's Romania. Well, they're the 13th best team in Romania. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, 3-1 West Ham finally putting a decent win on the board for themselves. They'll probably be quite pleased themselves on this one, to be honest with you. Made it difficult though. Went down 1-0. We kind of had a sort of an eye on it through phones and stuff like that when we were watching the Europa League football. Jared Bowen's on there. They played a pretty strong team. Emerson Palmieri, the new lad from Chelsea, come in there.
Antonio
last minute there, making it a little bit more comfortable than the way it was. But yeah, 3-1 in the end came out there. Statistics wise, yeah, it's basically, it was all West Ham, wasn't it? 21 shots, 7 on target, 60% of the football, 66% of the football, double the amount of passes, better passing accuracy. Yeah, it looked like a dominant display from West Ham, to be honest with you, and a good result for them to kind of get them started within their Europa Conference League journey. Which, if I was of a persuasion, I would be saying that this is a competition that they should be winning.
Yeah, they have to be favorites. If you look at this, it's not their first string, I don't think, not even close, really. Keeping Declan in, he can play games. Cornet, Schimak,
Bonner,
really at all. Benrahma, yeah, like it's an okay.
It's a good mix,
but it's a good mix is what it is, and yeah, they should be winning this competition until they see who drops down. But even then, likelihood is some of the teams dropping down are going to be of such low quality. God forbid United goes down, but I think you're going to see like. Our group is probably the strongest within that respect. And so like Sharif, who beat Real Madrid at home, or no, away, actually, the Bernabeu.
Yeah, they beat them. Yeah, first.
They're not a great side, or like Sociedad. Like probably the strongest team will come down from our group. So God forbid United go down, but yeah, until then, they have to be favorites. So
yeah, I mean, that's what I would say. I mean, if I was West Ham, actually, it's interesting. Would you mind just getting up the odds, just out of interest to see the bookmakers making the favourites in the Europa Conference League? For me, I'd be looking at West Ham and saying that if we don't win this, then there's something wrong with us. That's how I'd see it. Like, if Roma won it last season, but West Ham, I believe, would give Roma a run for their money on any given day, based on now. So. Europa Conference League, yes, they are favourites, of course, along with Villarreal, Fiorentina, Nice, Cologne, Bâle, and it's actually Basel and AZ Alkmaar. West Ham. It's yours to have. European trophy coming to London. That's not Chelsea. Arsenal fans, beware.
That's right. Villarreal are real threat. Fiorentina are an okay side. They're an okay.
It's Villarreal, isn't it? Really, they're like the Champions League sort of.
Well, their
quality team.
Their odds are on par. It's just a couple of these companies placed West Ham a bit above. So, yeah, I honestly, West Ham, Villarreal, whoever drops down still shouldn't be able to really compete with those two sides. So, yeah, I think that's
there we are. That's it, really. Yeah. So, everyone. Like I say, Europa Conference League match, it was a kind of, as pretty much to be expected. Big ones there. Manchester United's result was disappointing for United fans, more disappointing on the basis of, really good runs, some good wins, kind of game back in Europe. Let's get off to a good start. And unfortunately, it didn't quite go to plan. Not the end of the world. Still a lot of work to be done, I think, any United fan with a sense of knowing what's going on, that there will be hiccups along the way. It's not going to be a fixed thing overnight. And Ten Hag will be working on this one for next week for the next Europa League game, which they'll be looking forward to. So yes, next week we are going. Well, I will be having a show on the. Let me think. Monday, I'll do a show on Monday, just covering the Champions League football, kind of covering up there, seeing what we think is going to happen there. Look at those games. Probably won't be too long, just because there's only a few matches to go over. So hopefully you can join us for that one. And I'll also probably take a little look at the Europa League, Europa Conference League matches too, to take us in through football-wise. So, yeah, here at Talk Football for the evening shows, well, at least for the UK market, probably going to be taking it a little bit less just because of, recent events, and also because we go to international football, won't be having as many shows. However, do join Anthony and Josh for our AM shows. They're in Australia, so they do nights, and it's AM in UK. Please join them from there. They're doing some really good shows, really entertaining. Get a watch on them. They are really funny. Get involved, very entertaining. So please do. So anyway, everyone who's joined us, Phil, anyone else who's come along there, Annie,
yep.
Yeah, all those names. Yeah, trust me, there's a few names there, but honestly, we really, really appreciate you getting involved. It really helps us to have these conversations and keeps things moving along. And Daniel as well, of course, early on. Thank you very much for that. Anyone who's watching now who hasn't commented, thank you so much. If you've liked the content, hit us a like. We'd really, really appreciate it. It doesn't cost a thing, but we do appreciate it, and we do see that you do it for us. If you haven't always subscribed, hit subscribe for us. We're on the road to 300, just trying to get up there now. Help us get there. Be part of it early on. But yes, so until next week, stay safe. See you soon, and take care. Bye-bye.
Condolences, people.